Hey there folks, welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the news coming out of M Sport this morning that Pontus Tidemand is going to be returned to the team for Rally Turkey. He will be entering in what we believe is going to be the third car for the event, and what I'm going to be talking about over the course of this video is Pontus Tidemand himself and what it means for him, what it means for M Sport, and potentially what it means for another driver, Hayden Paddon. Now Pontus Tidemand is a driver with rallying pretty much in his blood. The son of rallycross driver Thomas, the co-driver Maud, and the stepson of Henning Solberg, he has more than a fair share of rallying talent in his family. Pontus himself is also quite accomplished. Having finished third in WRC Academy in 2012, he went on to win the JWRC, which succeeded it in 2013. At the same time, he got his first start in a World Rally Car in Rally Sweden, where he was actually competing for a solid top 6 finish until the engine packed up. More recently, he won WRC 2 in 2017 for Skoda Motorsport, before making his top flight return with M Sport at the start of the season, doing the first 2 rounds in Monte Carlo in Sweden in a Fiesta RS WRC. The results he ended up getting there was a top of 8th place in his home rally. On the side, he's been doing European RX, driving a Volkswagen Beetle for Per Eklund's team, another Swedish rallying legend. Now Pontus was meant to be doing WRC 2 Pro in the Ford Fiesta R5 Mark II. However, yesterday it was announced that he wasn't going to be doing the event. Of course, the news came today that he was going to be doing Turkey instead in the top flight category. Now this means he's managed to accrue the kind of sponsorship money that means that Rich Millen is able to enter a third car. It was a sort of tactic we've seen M Sport doing over the course of this season. It's how Pontus ended up competing in the first 2 rounds. It's how Gus Greensmith got his first outing in Portugal. And it's how Hayden Paddon was going to get his outing in Finland before the pre-event crash. Now this could be a good chance for Pontus. With Elfyn Evans and Tammy potentially out of contract at the end of the season, he could secure himself a drive of M Sport for a good performance in Turkey, or potentially somewhere else in the service park, though likely not Citroen, because Esa-Pekka Lappi and Sebastian Ogier are already confirmed for 2020, and they're most likely going to be giving another 2-car entry, unless they end up with a massive title sponsor coming back in. And Turkey's been a good event for Pontus in the past as well. Last season he was entered in WRC 2 and was leading his class, until a series of punches put him out of contention. Because of the high attrition rate that Turkey has due to it being a car-breaking kind of event, if he manages to basically make it to the end of the event, he could end up with a very high points tally, and especially if he doesn't run into any kind of trouble. This also means really good news for M Sport, because it means they've had the funding to enter 3 cars into Rally Turkey. It also means that if Evans isn't able to return for Turkey, this is where they're currently targeting his return from an injury sustained in Rally Estonia, they have a solid backup driver in the shape of Pontus Tidemand. They could potentially still enter 3 cars, and that would depend on sponsorship as to who ends up getting that drive. Otherwise, it'll be 3 strong entries in a championship event that's known to be a car breaker, and could potentially close them up to Citroen in a battle for 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. However, what a lot of you will be coming to listen to me talk about is what it could mean for Hayden Paddon. I reported earlier in the week an article in which Hayden Paddon said he was happy to do any rally over the course of the rest of the season, including Rally Turkey. You can find that video in the description below. And this could throw a spanner in the works for that. I mean, potentially, if Elfyn isn't able to return for Turkey, it could mean that it opens up a door for him to get in having accrued slightly less sponsorship money than before. However, it could also mean that M Sport will give yet another drive to Gus Greensmith. But it could also potentially open doors for him for somewhere like Rally GB or Rally Australia, because M Sport are able to accrue more funding through having had Pontus Tidemand compete earlier in the season. But it could also be a downside. If Pontus performs quite well, they could be more likely to end up bringing him into the squad, and could see Paddon losing his chance to drive this season. And this would be a massive shame, because Hayden wasn't able to do Finland due to the crash sustained in the pre-event test, because he ended up having to use the actual event car due to how close to the event it actually was. And it would be a horrible way for him to not end up competing in the season if M Sport ended up finding another driver to compete there. Hayden is a phenomenal talent, and it's a shame that he had to sit out this season. But the same could be said of many other drivers in the WRC. Same could be said of Craig Breen, who managed to get an outing with Hyundai and could potentially be getting a couple more, especially if he wraps up the Irish Tarmac Championship this weekend in the Ulster Rally. Same could also be said of Mads Osberg, who's doing WRC 2 Pro in the Citroen C3. Pontus is one of those drivers looking to get into the top flight, and especially with people such as Takamoto Katsuta making his first start in Rally Germany, and Kalle Rovanperä reportedly signing for Toyota in 2020, that driver market is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. I mean, all that we know for next season in terms of the WRC is that Citroën are going to be keeping their 2 drivers, and Hyundai are going to have a full-time Thierry Neuville as well as a part-time Sebastian Loeb. So it could be that we end up seeing someone like Pontus breaking out, but it could also come at the expense of somebody else like a Danny Sordo or an Andreas Mikkelsen. And this is the situation we've gotten into in the WRC. We end up with something like 20 drivers who would be able to compete quite solidly in the WRC. However, these 20 drivers are trying to fit into 10 slots. It's something that ends up meaning that there are people who are sitting around at WRC2, which means there's a boost to WRC2 Pro, but it also means that we lose out on solid competitors such as Mads, who could compete for event wins in the WRC, instead showcasing Citroën's customer car in WRC2 Pro. And now that ends up bringing another argument. Do we need to have more manufacturers? Do we need to find a way to be able to get more people competing in the events full stop? Because privateers is actually quite a hard thing, as we saw with Mads Osberg in 2017 and in parts of 2018. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you like to see somebody else return to WRC? Would you like to see the rules change so that something like the R5 formula comes in? Because even though they're slower cars, it could potentially open it up more to privateers, make it more cost efficient. On that note, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, you can make sure to like it, share it, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more content on the WRC in the build-up to Rally Germany, and also potentially talk about some of the silly season stuff and the transfer market rumours. But on that note, thank you so much, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye for now.